Welcome back to another explainer. If you've ever felt that absolute teeth-grinding frustration of your AI completely forgetting your project details the second you start a new session, acting like it literally has a 10-second memory, well, this is for you. Today, we're completely eliminating that friction. We are diving into Google Antigravity and looking at how just a few clean customizations can cure this AI amnesia for good. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the AI amnesia problem. Second, the reveal, the customizations panel. Third, pillar 1, which is setting rules. Fourth, pillar 2, building skills. And finally, how to fix all of this in under an hour. So part 1, the AI amnesia problem, or the pain of running raw. You open Antigravity, you load up your project, and start chatting. But then you have to repeatedly explain your folder layouts, your naming conventions, what your project goals are, every single time. It's exhausting, right? Especially if you're like the author of our source material, Nolan Jonker. He uses Antigravity for non-code tasks like UI design and managing his Obsidian vault. And Nolan makes this really brilliant observation. He says, the tool was never the problem, it was that I had to start every session from scratch. And he hit the nail on the head there. An AI agent inherently has absolutely no idea what your specific project is. Because Antigravity is fundamentally built for developers, it just naturally defaults to standard code-based assumptions. So if you're working on something else entirely, its raw default suggestions, they're going to make zero sense for your workflow. Think about it this way. When you run raw, you are constantly battling those standard developer assumptions. It is a massive waste of your time. But a customized setup, that acts as your own personal command center. It actually understands your specific folder layout and your unique design conventions perfectly, right out of the gate.
Which brings us to part 2, the reveal, the customizations panel, basically the solution hiding right in plain sight.
We aren't talking about messy third-party workarounds today. Google actually publishes official documentation with a panel designed specifically to cure this exact forgetfulness. They give us 6 distinct customization services: MCP, skills, rules, plugins, hooks, and sidecars. It's a seriously powerful suite. But now, what's really interesting about this slide is, to fix our AI amnesia problem, we don't need to learn all 6. Nope, we only need to focus exclusively on 2 of them: rules and skills. They tackle this forgetfulness from completely opposite ends. Let's jump into part 3. Pillar 1, setting rules to define identity and constraints. If you want to define your project's core identity, this is exactly where you start. Google describes rules as manually defined constraints for the agent to follow. Just think of them as plain markdown files that get injected automatically into every single session you start. And let me tell you, it is so clean and simple to set up. Let's look at the global scope first. If you want rules that apply universally across every project on your machine, just follow this path. Go to your home directory, create a folder named .gemini, and inside that, drop a markdown file named GEMINI.md. Boom, done. It's that easy. But let's see how this builds out for specific projects. For Antigravity 2.0, Google actually recommends a workspace-specific folder approach instead. So at your project root, you create a .agents folder, and right inside that, a rules folder. This is a total game changer, because it allows you to hold multiple rule files that are tailored exactly to that specific workspace. And because you can have multiple files, you get to use activation modes. This gives you incredibly granular control over exactly when the AI accesses specific constraints. You've got always on, which applies continuously to the workspace. Then there's semantic, which is triggered only when the model itself decides it's relevant to your prompt. You can manually invoke them using app mentions, or you can even use glob patterns to apply rules automatically, but only when you open specific file types. It is just incredibly organized. To make this a bit more concrete, here's a fantastic example from Nolan's workflow with his Obsidian vault. This rule tells the agent exactly what it should do. Understand the vault structure, perform housekeeping, but critically, it sets really hard guardrails. Quote, never touch my actual drafts. By setting this rule just one time, you never have to waste your breath adding that disclaimer to every single prompt ever again. All right, moving on to part 4, pillar 2, building skills for on-demand procedures. So rules perfectly solve the identity problem. But what about those repetitive actions you find yourself doing every single day? That's where skills come in. Skills automate your recurring tasks without you ever needing to re-explain the steps to the AI. But before we build one, we really have to understand why they're necessary in the first place. And it comes down to something Google calls context rot. This is their official term for when a model gets confused and totally bogged down by irrelevant instruction data just sitting uselessly in the context window. So the crucial point is, if you just dump a giant list of every task you might ever do into your main global rule, you are absolutely going to cause massive latency and completely confuse the AI. Skills completely solve this context rot issue through a really cool concept Google calls progressive disclosure. Basically, the instructions only load when you actually need them. To set one up in your workspace, it's another super clean path. You just go to your .agents folder, create a skills folder, then a folder for your specific skill name, and finally a skill.md file right inside that. Now here is the secret mechanic that makes skills so magical. Right at the top of that skill.md file, you place some YAML front matter with a name and a description. And that description, that is your semantic trigger. When your session starts, the agent only sees the metadata. You absolutely must write this description in the third person using the exact natural phrases you'd normally type out. If your prompt semantically matches that description, the agent handles the routing and loads the full instructions totally automatically. But a quick warning, if your description is vague, that skill is literally never going to trigger. And hey, if writing all those complex instructions sounds a bit daunting, here is an amazing workflow hack straight from the source material. Just have Antigrity read your project folder first to get the lay of the land, and then ask the AI to write the skl.md file for you. Seriously, Nolan used this exact method to build a skill that checks his vault for staleness and presents a diff for approval, all without having to hand-code the whole procedure himself. Talk about working smarter.
Okay, wrapping things up with part 5. Fix it under an hour to empower your workflow.
We've established that the AI isn't broken, right? It's not inherently forgetful, it just desperately needs you to engage with these official customization surfaces so it finally has the context it needs. And it only takes about 1 hour. Setting up a basic Gemini.md rule file and your very first automated skill takes less than 60 minutes of upfront work. Just contrast that single hour against the countless hours of friction, the annoying latency, and the constant reprompting you are going to save every single week from now on. To put that into perspective, it is an unmatched return on your time investment. So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. Take a look at your current projects. Are you going to keep battling standard assumptions and starting every single session totally from scratch? Or is it time to open up your project root and actually build your rules? Take that hour today. Stop repeating yourself and let your AI finally do the heavy lifting for you. Thank you so much for joining this explainer, and we will see you in the next one.